All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. Today, I have Irvin John with us. He is the founder of Business Body Elite and the Fitness Journals LLC. Business Body Elite provides wellness programs to the employees of corporate companies, small businesses, and government organizations. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tyler.
Of course. Grateful to have you here. So first one I got for you, Irvin, is what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
Well, what I would say, as far as what has helped me develop personally, a couple years ago, probably 2013, I ran into some health complications. I got a staph infection, which got pretty severe. And during that time, I couldn't go to school. I had to leave school. Everything was kind of just like at the bottom point at my life right there. I actually, for the first time ever, because of all the things going on, I actually thought suicide might be a good choice. And it just got that bad. I went to the doctors. The doctors are like, yeah, well, you're going to have to live with this pretty much for the rest of your life. There's nothing that we can really do. You can keep it at bay by using these antibiotics, but you can't really get rid of it. So sure enough, based on at that time what they were saying, it was true. I couldn't get rid of it. It would come back. It would be reoccurring for, probably 3 years after that until, I started doing my research on, natural stuff. So I started eating garlic, drinking, blending garlic, onions, aloe vera together and drinking that. And that taught me at that point, that's where I realized how important, health and wellness is. Without it, you literally cannot do nothing. You can't do anything, and that's what really drove me to, share that mission and vision with everybody else. And really, that's why I do what I do today. And for that, like they say, you never really understand how important health is until you're about to lose everything. So that is one of the biggest, most valuable lessons and experiences that I've ever gone through personally, which obviously that translates over into business as well.
Absolutely, dude. Health has to come first. There's no doubt about that.
100%.
So my next one for you is, what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
Okay, well, as far as we'll talk about Business Body Elite, as far as that's concerned, working with people, having a line of communication and being a good person. Like when they say people will do business with you if they trust you. And that is the bottom line. Chances are, if you're in a competitive space, there has been other people who have offered, similar services to your client before. And you have to be able to fulfill what you say you're going to do, so that's where the trust comes in. If you say, look, we're going to do this, but then you're like, oh man, I'm hanging them out to dry. I know I can't really do that. Either you better find out how you're going to do it quickly, or just don't say you're going to do it. So it comes down to like that. Don't over promise and then under deliver. So what I found is asking as many questions as possible. So when we go in to do the consultation with these organizations to understand what is the major problems that they have, whether it be, with the employees, okay, 90 of our employees out of 200 have diabetes, and this keeps them out. And, our company is suffering because of that. We need to be able to formulate, by asking as many questions and understanding what's going on, formulate a well-designed program and plan in order to combat those issues that they're experiencing. So number one would always be communication. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. The questions might even sound like common sense and like, oh, this is a stupid question. But if you have any bit of doubt, ask the question. You're never going to get everything perfect. That's, just how things are. That's how life is. But the more you understand, the more likely you are to be able to deliver and give them what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. And then what is your best piece of overall business advice? So not necessarily industry specific.
Start. if you're in a whatever, if you're trying to start a business and you're like, I need to have this, I need to have that, I need to, and you keep analysis paralysis. You keep trying to find more ways to not get started. You're like, I can't start until I do this. The bottom line is you'll never be able to get everything right, until you start. What I used to always do is take, kind of the most minor things and say, okay, I need this before I can even do that. And the bottom line is that's not always true. Of course, you want to have a product or a service that does meet someone's needs at least to the minimal requirement, but you're never going to be able to excel past what you believe you're going to be able to do unless you start. You got to start. You got to get in the door. And then once again, just like that, like I said earlier, asking the questions. You got to be able to ask the questions, and then that's how you'll be able to make a product that fulfills the needs of your clients.
Mm-hmm. And then if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Be patient. I think the number one thing would be patient and definitely enjoy the process. During the process, you learn everything you need to know in order to sustain or even reach success. So my whole thing is, a lot of the time, we see other people doing really well, and we look at them and we compare. We're like, oh, that person's the same age as me. They have, not everything compared to what I have. They're like, I don't even have anything, but look at what they have. They have everything that I want, and the whole thing is, you don't know what they've gone through. You don't know what when they started their process. You don't know if it was given to them. At the end of the day, in order to, if you're like, I want to build a successful business, you have to be able to learn certain things. And the only way to learn that is to go through the process. You have to take chances, you have to risk, and then you have to be patient. So, being patient isn't just waiting and like, oh, I've been waiting for so long. You have to have a good attitude about it while you're doing that, while you're working. All those things, you still have to remain. You're like, I know it's going to come. I just have to pay my dues and do what I know is necessary in order to achieve and then sustain success. So my number one thing would say for myself, my younger self, would be patient.
Mm-hmm. And then, so kind of going down a little bit of a different path, in your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
The key to happiness, in my opinion, I would say is growth. It might sound a little bit of like an abstract thing, but every time that I feel like, especially for me, I've hit like a plateau or stagnant, I kind of feel unfulfilled. I'm like, I don't, I have almost like, I don't want to say depression, but kind of like an anxious feeling. And I'm like, I know I can do better. And every time I set a goal and then I'm able to achieve it, that genuinely gives me happiness. And that could be in any area of life. As far as fitness is so synonymous with business, because I feel like in order to get to that next level, you have to increase the resistance. You have to increase the challenge. And there's no way that you're going to grow unless you increase that. It simply can't happen. Your muscles, your body only gets stronger if you give it an incentive to do so. So as far as happiness, in my personal opinion, I would say growth. That genuinely gives me happiness. If I'm growing in the area of being able to help my family, if I'm growing in the area of being able to, provide better services to clients, that gives me genuine happiness.
And what is the best book that you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
Ooh, this is probably the toughest question. Let's say one book, especially as of recently, that I've really been influenced by is No Limits, Blow the Cap Off Your Capacity by John C. Maxwell. That book has really helped me understand almost every principle really of life and business, but discipline. Discipline is really taught me a lot about discipline, doing what you have to do no matter how you feel. When you feel like, look, I literally can't go anymore, that is the time when you absolutely need to bring things up to the next level. So as far as, something that's really stuck with me from that book, I would say it's the discipline factor.
And what is your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote, there's a couple, but I'll stick with this one right here. Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than what you take in payment. So for me, that's profound, mainly because, especially like when starting off in business, providing value, as much value as you possibly can. You're like, oh, I need to be charging way, way more than this. But is the value that you're providing, worth it? So giving a lot of things away for free, like when they say that, giving things away for free, showing that you're giving something that is life-changing, something that will enhance someone's life in some way. And then, you don't really have to worry about the payment and whatnot that you'll receive. So, because it honestly will come naturally. And from my experience, that has definitely been true. You provide the value, and you might seem like, man, I've been providing value for so long, but nothing's happening. That's where the patience comes in again as well. So that quote right there, I think that has a lot of meaning, because, being patient and putting the time and energy into providing a valuable service and product, it definitely helps you stay focused as far as that's concerned.
Absolutely, man. I could not agree more. So, dude, thanks for coming on. The last one I got for you. Where can our listeners best connect and find you online?
So you guys can always find me on Instagram. That's probably the best way. TFJ_CEO. And then you can always just head over to my website where all my other links are there. It's called thefitnessjournals.com. So that is where you'll best find me.
Perfect. Thanks again for coming on.
Thank you, Tyler.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.